Hi everyone, in this video I'd like to think about the costs of homing and owning a greyhound. As with any animal, we need to consider whether we can afford to take care of them in the way that they need before we go ahead with getting one. So in terms of startup costs, I'm looking at this from the perspective of homing a greyhound through the Greyhound Trust. If you do that, then you should get a collar and a lead, a muzzle and a house collar as part of your homing package. And the dog should come fully vaccinated, flea and worm treated, and they will of course be neutered before you get them. Typically the donation you are asked to make is £190 for the dog at the time that you get them, and there are going to be extra costs involved in starting up with your new greyhound. So the things that are essential are some coats. Depending on the time of year, you may not need to buy them all at once, but in the winter they're going to need a warm coat and they may need a fleece. And for the spring and summer and autumn, the chances are you're going to need a rain mac, something waterproof but not quite so warm as their winter coat. You're going to need a food bowl and something to put it on. You're going to need a bed. It could be as simple as a duvet and a cover, or you could pay more for a bed. And if you're going to travel them in the car on the back seat, you're going to need a harness and a clip to attach them to the seat belt. So the coats could cost you maybe £60, the feeding bowl and stand £25, the bedding could be £20 upwards depending on what you get, and if you need a harness and a clip for the car, that could be £40. So you're looking at maybe £350 just to get that dog in the home and cover their basic equipment needs. Thinking about feeding them, I estimate that you can get away with maybe £30 a month on food. So that would be based on a lower cost bag of kibble. A 12 kilo bag will cost you about £12, but you can spend as much as £80 or so if you wish to go for a very high quality one. And that 12 kilo bag should last you about a month. If you're going to add some wet food or toppers to that, you could be looking at £2 or more a week to do that, and maybe £2 a week on treats. So that's my budget of £30 a month as your minimum costs for feeding the dog. Insurance is always a tricky issue, and the question of whether or not to get insurance is one for you to consider before you go ahead with homing them. Now, the cost of your insurance is going to typically increase with the age of the dog, so a younger dog will start at a lower premium, and as they get older your premium is going to go up. If they have a pre-existing condition, that's not going to be covered, so you will still need to pay for vet's bills that deal with anything to do with that part of the body or that condition. And some policies don't include treatment for everything that the dog may need. A common one to find in the exclusions is routine dental care. So you might say be covered for an accident that broke a tooth, but not for a scale and polish. Some policies cover you for life for a particular condition. Others only cover that condition for the year in which it first occurs. So consider that when you're looking at the premiums for your policy. Also think about the maximum amount that they will pay out and the excess that you will have to pay towards the cost. Thinking about vet costs in general then, routine treatments are not typically covered by insurance, so things like vaccinations, flea and worm treatments are not likely to be covered in that cost. And typically, if you are going to the vet, there's going to be a consultation fee, there may be some medication, and if the dog has a small injury that just requires antibiotics, pain relief, the chances are that that is going to be less in price than the cost of your excess. So for smaller things, you are still going to need to pay, usually, whether or not you have insurance. So the insurance really kicks in with something more serious, more significant. Now, a major accident, say a badly broken leg, could end up costing more to deal with than your insurance covers. So at the other end of the scale, you could be out of pocket if you need to treat something that's really serious. And of course, if you only have a 1-year policy and the dog has a condition that needs long-term treatment, such as say Cushing's disease or diabetes, then in subsequent years you will need to pay for the follow-ups for the medication for that illness going forwards. So do think about the costs before you take out a policy, and consider the cost of the vet treatments that you might expect to need. So it's worth shopping around. Definitely look for a vet that is familiar with greyhounds, but think about how much they're going to charge you for things that won't be covered by your insurance if you have it. Also think about the cost of the dog on your lifestyle activities. So if you're going to need a dog walker or a dog sitter, then you need to factor in those costs, and those are going to vary regionally and nationally. If you are thinking about going on holiday or travelling, at the basic level, are you going to fit in the car? Maybe if you have a family, then 2 adults, 2 children and the luggage fit nicely, but where's the dog going to go? Will you have to buy a roof box? Might you even need to buy a bigger car? I've certainly increased the size of my car since my greyhound family has grown in size. If the dog isn't going to be coming with you, you may need to factor in the cost of boarding fees in addition to your holiday costs, whether that's for a weekend or for a longer break, and that could be at a kennels or for a home boarder. But whatever it is, there are going to be additional costs unless you can have a family member looking after the dog for you. And if the dog comes with you, it may be you have to pay extra for the dog to be with you in the accommodation in a dog-friendly holiday location. And it may be that you want to consider kennelling costs, so you can have some days out while you're there doing things that the dog can't do with you. The other side of it is collateral damage and miscellaneous costs. So I've lumped everything else in together. Simple things like wear and tear on your carpets might be a little bit more than you expected. The cost of replacing things that get chewed perhaps or weed on, so furniture, things that they love to nibble like remote controls, your library book, buying them toys, buying games for them to play with, and of course buying them all those things that they really don't need that are out there on the market just to attract you as a dog owner and tempt you to spend your money. So homing a greyhound can cost as little or as much as you want it to, but do think about those basic costs before you decide to go ahead. I'll be back again soon with more videos for you. Bye for now. Look out for new videos every Monday, and why not subscribe so you don't miss out.